Welcome back to English Success. Today we're going to talk about something that almost everyone feels, but nobody likes to admit. I'm ambitious, but I'm lazy.
Exactly. Think about it. You want success. You want to learn English fluently, maybe build a career, maybe have financial freedom. But when it's time to act, you just don't. You scroll, you watch, you plan, but you don't move.
And that's the painful truth. Big dreams, but no action. And if you recognize yourself in this, don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, this is the exact struggle that stops millions of people from living the life they want.
Yes, because being ambitious without discipline is like owning a Ferrari, but never putting fuel in it. You can admire it, you can dream about how fast it can go, but it's not moving anywhere.
Wow, I love that metaphor, and that's why today's episode is so important. We'll break down why ambition alone isn't enough, why people get stuck in laziness, and most importantly, how you can finally start taking action and move towards your dreams.
So if you've ever said to yourself, I know I can do more, but I just don't feel like it, then this episode is for you. Stay with us. Because by the end, you'll know how to turn your ambition into real results.
Let's start by really understanding what this phrase means. I'm ambitious but lazy. Because on the surface, it sounds almost funny. Like, how can you be both? If you're ambitious, you should be active, right?
Exactly. But the truth is, so many people feel this contradiction. They imagine a better life. They set big goals in their mind, maybe learning English fluently, starting a business, traveling, writing a book, but in daily reality, their actions don't match their ambitions.
Right. It's like having two voices inside. One voice says, I want more. I want to change my life. I know I'm capable of something great. And the other voice says, but let's just relax. Let's do it tomorrow. Let's stay comfortable.
And the dangerous part is, the second voice usually wins. Because ambition lives in your mind, but laziness lives in your habits.
That's powerful. Let me put it this way. Ambition is like the dream version of you, the person you could become. Laziness is the present version of you, the person you are right now. And if your present self always wins, your future self never arrives.
Exactly. And you know, people confuse ambition with achievement. Just because you dream big doesn't mean you're making progress. In fact, sometimes ambition without action becomes a trap.
Oh yes, the trap of imagination. For example, someone says, one day I'll speak English fluently. I'll travel the world. I'll get that dream job. And because they imagine it so often, they almost feel like they're already doing something. But in reality, days, months, even years pass, and nothing changes.
That's so true. I remember back in college, I used to tell everyone, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to build my own business. And I felt good just by saying it. But if you had asked me, Jake, what did you actually do today to move closer to that dream? My answer would have been, nothing.
I love that honesty. And I think many of our listeners can relate, because ambition gives you hope, and laziness gives you comfort. Hope without action is an illusion. Comfort without growth is a slow death.
Wow, that's deep, Emma. And you know what's interesting? Many people don't even realize they're stuck in this pattern. They say, I'm just tired. I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And then, one day, you wake up and realize 5 years are gone.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's important to say this clearly. Saying, I'm ambitious but lazy is not a joke. It's a warning. It means your dreams are bigger than your discipline. And that imbalance will cost you your future if you don't fix it.
I couldn't agree more. And here's the key. Ambition without discipline is like a car without wheels. You can have the best engine, the best design, the best dream destination, but you're not going anywhere.
So the first step is self-awareness. If you recognize yourself in this description, ambitious but lazy, you've already taken the first step. You've admitted the problem. And now, the question is, why? Why do so many of us feel this way?
Perfect. That takes us to the next part. Why do people get stuck in laziness, even when their dreams are huge?
So Jake, let's ask the big question. Why are people lazy? Why do we say, I want success, I want change, I want to grow, and then we don't do anything about it?
That's a huge question. And I don't think it's always just laziness. Sometimes, what we call laziness is actually fear.
Fear? I like that. Can you explain?
Sure. Imagine someone says, I want to learn English and become fluent. They buy the books, they watch a few videos, maybe they even sign up for a course, but then they stop. Why? Deep down, they're afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of looking stupid, afraid of not being good enough. And fear often disguises itself as laziness.
That's so true. Because if I tell myself I'm lazy, it sounds almost innocent. But if I admit I'm scared, then I have to face something deeper. Laziness is often just a mask for fear.
Exactly. And another reason is overwhelm. Think about it. Sometimes our goals are so big that our brain freezes. You say, I'm going to change my life. I'll become successful. I'll speak English perfectly. But that goal is so huge, you don't even know where to start. So instead of taking one small step, you take no steps at all.
Yes, like analysis paralysis. Too many options, too many expectations. So you do nothing, and then you call it laziness.
Right. And there's also biology. Our brains are wired to seek comfort. Thousands of years ago, saving energy meant survival. So, sitting on the couch, avoiding effort that's not just laziness, it's your brain protecting you.
That's fascinating. So when someone says, I'm lazy, maybe their brain is just saying, stay safe, don't waste energy, avoid discomfort.
Exactly. But here's the problem. Comfort feels good today, but it costs you tomorrow.
I love that. Comfort feels good today, but it costs you tomorrow. That should be written on everyone's wall.
And think about distractions in our modern world. Social media, endless entertainment, quick dopamine hits. Our brains get addicted to easy rewards. Watching a funny video feels easier than studying English vocabulary. Playing a game feels easier than working on a business idea.
Right, because our brains love instant gratification. Laziness is often just a choice for the easy reward now, instead of the bigger reward later.
Exactly. And this connects to discipline. Successful people are not less lazy than others, they just train themselves to delay gratification. They learn to say, I'll do the hard thing now, so I can enjoy the reward later.
Yes, and you know what? Sometimes laziness is also a signal that you don't truly care about your goal.
That's interesting. Can you explain?
Sure. Imagine someone says, I want to be a doctor. But they never study, they skip classes, they avoid exams. Maybe it's not laziness. Maybe deep down, that's not their dream, it's someone else's dream. When you don't have genuine passion, you'll always feel lazy.
That's powerful. So laziness can actually be a lack of alignment between your goal and your heart.
Exactly. And that's why people should ask themselves, do I really want this, or do I just like the idea of wanting it?
Yes, because many people are in love with the idea of success, not the work required for success.
Wow, that's a deep line. Say it again.
Many people are in love with the idea of success, not the work required for success.
That's gold. And I think this is the essence of, I'm ambitious but lazy. You love the dream, but you hate the process.
Exactly. And until you learn to love the process, the small, boring daily steps, you'll stay stuck in this loop.
So, to summarize, we call ourselves lazy, but really it could be fear, overwhelm, our biology craving comfort, addiction to distractions, or simply chasing goals that aren't truly ours.
Perfect summary. And once you understand why you're lazy, you can start to break the pattern.
Which brings us to the next part. How can we turn ambition into action? How can we fight laziness and actually move towards our dreams?
Yes, because having ambition is beautiful, but having ambition without action is painful. So let's talk about how to transform ambition into discipline.
Okay, Jake, we've defined the problem. People say, I'm ambitious but lazy. We explained why this happens: fear, overwhelm, comfort, distractions. But now let's get practical. How do we actually turn ambition into action?
Great question. I think the first step is to start ridiculously small. Most people fail because their ambition is huge, but their first step is unrealistic.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Someone says, I'm going to learn English. So they buy 10 books, download 5 apps, promise to study 2 hours every day. But guess what? After 3 days, they quit. Why? Because the step was too big.
Exactly. The brain resists big changes. But if you say, I'll study English for just 5 minutes today, suddenly it's so small that it's easy, and once you start, you often continue longer.
Yes, that's the magic. Small steps create momentum. Success is not about intensity, it's about consistency.
That's a golden point. And I want to add something. Make the first step obvious and easy. For example, if you want to read 10 pages a day, put the book on your pillow. If you want to practice English, keep your notebook on the desk where you can see it. Don't rely on memory, rely on your environment.
Brilliant. Because environment shapes behavior more than willpower. If your phone is full of social media apps, of course, you'll scroll. But if you delete the apps and replace them with an audiobook in English, guess what? You'll listen.
Right, and that's another step. Remove friction. Make good habits easier and bad habits harder.
Yes. For example, if you want to exercise, put your gym clothes near your bed. If you want to stop wasting time, move your television remote to another room. Laziness often wins because bad habits are too easy.
Absolutely. And here's another point. Don't wait for motivation. Many people think, I'll act when I feel motivated. But motivation is like the weather, it changes. Discipline means acting even when you don't feel like it.
100%. I always say, motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. If you only work when you feel motivated, you'll never achieve big dreams.
And this is where identity comes in. Instead of saying, I'm lazy, but I'll try to work, say, I'm the type of person who takes action, even in small ways. When you change your identity, your actions follow.
That's so true. For example, if you see yourself as a language learner, then practicing English every day feels natural. You don't ask, do I feel like it? You just do it because that's who you are.
Yes, and speaking of English, this is such a powerful area to apply all these steps. Don't say, I'll master English in 1 year. Say, I'll learn 1 phrase today, and then repeat it tomorrow. Over time, small steps turn into massive progress.
Exactly. And here's a secret. Action creates motivation. People think it's the opposite. But once you start even for 5 minutes, you feel progress. And progress creates energy.
That's why the hardest part is the first step. Once you start, momentum carries you forward.
And we can't forget about accountability. If you're serious about changing, tell someone. Share your goal with a friend, join a group, hire a coach. When someone else expects you to act, laziness loses power.
Yes, because ambition kept in your head is fragile, but ambition shared with others becomes a responsibility.
Exactly. And one last thing. Celebrate small wins. Many ambitious people only celebrate big achievements. But if you want to stay consistent, you must reward yourself for progress, even the small kind.
I love that because celebrating small wins gives your brain dopamine, which keeps you moving forward. It turns discipline into joy.
So let's summarize. To turn ambition into action. 1. Start ridiculously small. 2. Make the first step obvious and easy. 3. Remove friction for good habits, add friction for bad ones. 4. Don't wait for motivation, build discipline. 5. Change your identity, become the kind of person who takes action. 6. Use accountability. 7. Celebrate small wins.
Perfect summary. And if our listeners apply even 2 or 3 of these, laziness will no longer control them.
Yes, you'll still have ambition, but now it will be supported by action, and that combination is unstoppable.
Which brings us to the next part, balance. Because many people push too hard, burn out, and quit. So how do you balance ambition and action with real life without losing energy?
Exactly. Let's dive into that in the next section.
So Jake, here's something important. Sometimes when people finally take action, they go to the opposite extreme. They start working like crazy, they burn out, and then they stop completely.
Yes, that's a huge problem. Many ambitious people think the only way to succeed is through intensity, working 10 hours a day, no rest, no balance. But that's not sustainable.
Exactly. And I always say, consistency beats intensity. If you work intensely for 2 weeks and then quit, you gain nothing. But if you stay consistent for 2 years, even with small steps, the results are massive.
That's true for learning English, for fitness, for business, for everything. Small, regular effort compounds. Just like compound interest in money, habits compound in life.
I love that comparison. And here's another point. Ambition should serve your life, not destroy it. If your goals make you miserable every day, you're doing it wrong.
Yes, because success without peace is failure in disguise. What's the point of reaching your goals if you lose your health, your relationships, or your happiness along the way?
Exactly. That's why I think people need to understand energy management. You don't just manage your time, you manage your energy.
That's powerful. Can you explain more?
Sure. Let's say you want to study English. If you try to do it late at night when you're exhausted, of course you'll be lazy. But if you do it in the morning when your mind is fresh, suddenly it feels easier. It's not laziness, it's energy.
That's brilliant. And it applies to everything. Work on your most important goals when your energy is high. Don't waste your best hours on distractions.
Yes, and also rest is part of the process. Laziness is uncontrolled rest, but intentional rest is fuel.
I love that distinction. Laziness steals energy. Rest restores energy.
Exactly. So balance means working with focus, then resting with purpose. Like athletes, they train hard, but they also recover. That's why they grow stronger.
And another thing, don't compare your journey to others. Some people move fast, others move slow. Ambition becomes toxic when it's based on competition instead of self-growth.
Yes, because the only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. If you're improving, even a little, you're winning.
And here's something important for ambitious but lazy people. Accept seasons in life. You can't be at 100% all the time. Sometimes you push harder, sometimes you go slower. That's natural.
Exactly. And learning to forgive yourself for slow days is part of balance. Too much guilt kills progress.
That's so true, because guilt often leads back to laziness. You say, I failed yesterday, so why even try today? But balance means you accept imperfection and keep going.
Yes, and that's the secret. Progress, not perfection. If you keep moving, even slowly, you'll get there.
Let's give our listeners a simple example. Imagine 2 people. Person A studies English for 2 hours every day for 2 weeks, then quits for 6 months. Person B studies English for Kane's minutes every day for 6 months. Who's better?
Obviously, person B, because consistency compounds. 10 minutes a day doesn't feel like much, but over time it builds fluency.
Exactly. And the same is true for building wealth, fitness, skills, relationships, small steps, consistently. Beat short bursts of intensity.
So balance means 1. Focus on consistency, not intensity. 2. Manage energy, not just time. 3. Rest with purpose, not with guilt. 4. Don't compare, just improve yourself. 5. Accept seasons and imperfection.
Perfect. And if our listeners take this mindset, they'll no longer feel trapped between ambition and laziness. They'll move forward with steady, healthy progress.
Which brings us to the end of today's discussion. But before we close, let's give our listeners one final message.
Yes, if you feel ambitious but lazy, remember, the dream is nothing without the discipline. But discipline doesn't mean suffering. It means balance, consistency, and progress.
Exactly. Success is not about running fast, once it's about walking steadily every day.
So don't just dream. Take the first step today.
And keep walking tomorrow. That's how ambition turns into reality.